Thanks for joining us. Coming up on NTD Business. Charges in the Trump criminal case unsealed. The former president pleads not guilty on all 34 charges. What are the political implications of the case? Will it actually boost Trump in 2024? We have analysis. A surprising warning from a global banking leader. In an annual letter, the CEO of JPMorgan points to China's growing influence. That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Great to have you with us. Don Ma here. Former President Trump pleaded not guilty today to an unprecedented indictment. Trump surrendered voluntarily at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office earlier this afternoon. He was placed under arrest and in police custody before the arraignment. He heard the charges at the New York Supreme Court. The Manhattan DA charged Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business records. They're connected to a payment for a non-disclosure agreement. It was signed by adult entertainment actress Stormy Daniels and Trump's then-attorney Michael Cohen. Here's the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg making the official announcement today.
Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned on a New York Supreme Court indictment returned by a Manhattan grand jury on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. Under New York state law, it is a felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about. 34 false statements made to cover up other crimes. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct.
After the arraignment at a press conference, Trump's attorneys called the indictment political persecution and vowed to fight it.
I think that what you saw in the indictment that was unsealed today is exactly what has been talked about for the past 7 years, and the district attorney has turned what is actually a completely political issue into a political prosecution, and it's not a good day. The indictment itself is boilerplate. It doesn't allege any federal crime, any state crime that's been violated. It doesn't allege what the false statement is, and it's really disappointing. It's sad, and we're going to fight it. We're going to fight.
Constitutional lawyer and former Trump advisor Jenna Ellis said the key to the case is to prove Trump knowingly falsified the records in order to make the felony charges stick, which she believes will be difficult for DA Bragg.
To have this type of indictment around this falsifying business records in the first degree, the intent piece here is going to be critical. And what it means in common terms is that someone had to knowingly and intentionally falsify a business record to cover up another crime. So, for example, if someone is stealing from a company and then they falsify a business record to cover up that crime. And so this is going to be very difficult for the district attorney to prove, especially with respect to President Trump.
The charges mark a watershed moment in American history, which some analysts believe may hurl the country into a state of chronic dysfunction. So how could the indictment play out for Trump politically? Here's some discussion from NTD's live coverage on the Trump indictment earlier today.
This is the grand shooting in the foot. I think that's going to backfire on the Democrats with this, because you have to understand what Trump's political message was. Trump's campaign message would be deemed kind of extreme under normal circumstances. And let me explain. You have DeSantis coming in as basically going on the culture warfare front. He's going against wokeism and the Disneys and the grooming of kids, and that's his narrative. Mike Pence is coming out and saying, I'm going to give you America first without Trump. I'm going to represent America and put America's interests first. And you have, others, not polling as high, but coming out with different narratives along these lines. What Trump is saying is that the government is fundamentally corrupt. Trump is saying you have politicization of the justice system. Trump is saying you have to get rid of the FBI, possibly, and replace it with something else. Trump is saying he needs to come in and fire tens of thousands of people to eliminate corruption from within the American government. For a lot of people, that is a very extreme, like it or not, for a lot of people, that is a very extreme proposition. Ironically, what's happening to Trump now is proving him right for a lot of people. And they're saying, well, what you told us, I see it happening right now. And they're taking that as a lived experience of the problem he's warning us about, and he's the only one presenting a solution to it. I do believe this is going to help him very, very much at the polls, because, again, that is his campaign message, that this exists.
Joshua, does it help him beyond his base, or do you think it stops there, and will this ultimately help him in a general election?
I'm not sure about Democrats. I don't think they're going to budge this, because generally a lot of people who still vote Democrat typically would still believe in a lot of the narratives against Trump anyways, that he was, Trump Russia, even if that was kind of debunked. They would have already believed a lot of other things about him. So I don't know if it's going to budge the Democrats. But when it comes to Republicans, a lot of them were split. A lot of them were going to DeSantis. A lot of them were going to other people. If you look at the polling, Trump is moving up in the polls among Republicans. And you even see a lot of people who don't like Trump, like Mike Pence, for example, coming out now and defending Trump. You even see the party now really kind of circling around Trump. They're forming the wagons, so to speak. They're circling the wagons around Trump. And so the coming together of the Republicans, I think, is going to benefit him quite a bit when it comes to election time.
And here's something else to add to that. We are seeing Trump occupy the media yet again. It's a place that he loves, and it's a place where he has flourished. And this particular case is something without getting into his personality, it's something that Donald Trump feeds off of, the frenzy of the media, the frenzy of controversy, and seemingly being able to maneuver it and handle it. However, this is a court of law. Do you think that he will be able to use this and make this a trial in the public, which is something that DA Alvin Bragg certainly does not want?
I'd say without a doubt. One of the realities is it's going to be very hard to put Trump behind bars, because under legal protections, right, under American law, a former president has to have the protection of the Secret Service. How do you throw someone in prison if you're going to throw the Secret Service in with them? I mean, how do you do that? They're not going to be able to imprison him. They're not going to be able to handcuff him. And so the most they could do, for example, with contempt, if he violates a gag order or something like that, is give him a $1,000 fine. He'll take a $1,000 fine every hour if he has to, if it means he can speak freely, knowing Trump. It's not going to silence him. And any action taken to try to silence him, he's going to use that and say, look what they're doing to me. They're trying to stop me from campaigning. Donate to my campaign, and it's going to benefit him the whole way through.
Wall Street closed lower today. The Dow fell 199 points, or 0.6%. S&P dropped 24 points, also 0.6%. And the Nasdaq slipped 63 points, or 0.5%. The financial world today analyzing the annual letter from JPMorgan CEO. He made predictions about the current banking crisis and surprising warnings about China. Take a look.
JPMorgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon sent his annual letter to shareholders on Tuesday, saying the banking crisis is not over yet. In this 43-page message, he said the current crisis is not yet over, and even when it is behind us, there will be repercussions from it for years to come. The banking system currently is under renewed stress after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Credit Suisse's rescue by UBS last month. The letter reads, the stock market is down and the market's odds of a recession have increased. And while this is nothing like 2008, it is not clear when this current crisis will end. According to the CEO, the risks that led to the current crisis were hiding in plain sight. For example, interest rate exposure and the level of uninsured deposits at Silicon Valley Bank. Dimon also made blunt statements about the strategic risks China poses, saying China, using subsidies and its economic muscle to dominate batteries, rare earths, semiconductors, or EVs, could eventually imperil national security by disrupting our access to these products and materials. We cannot cede these important resources and capabilities to another country. It's not common for a global business leader to make such direct statements. Reporting by Arian Pastar, NTD News.
U.S.-China tensions continue. For the first time, China hits back at an American microchip company. A Chinese internet watchdog investigating one of America's largest memory chip makers, Micron Technology. The Cyberspace Administration of China will review products sold by Micron. Beijing says the probe is to prevent security risks and to maintain national security. Micron says it's cooperating fully and that business will operate as normal during the probe. Now, the probe comes after Washington announced curbs on China's semiconductor industry, which hinders, of course, Beijing's goal to become a tech power. Now, joining me is Robert Atkinson, president of the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation. Now, let me just get your first thoughts. What is the motivation here of China probing this major U.S. chip firm? I mean, they're saying it's national security related. How much truth is there in that?
Zero. This has nothing to do with national security. Nobody else is probing Micron chips. There's never been a probe like this. This is pure retaliation for the Biden administration to put on export controls on key chip-making equipment to slow down the Chinese semiconductor industry, which is massively unfairly subsidized and based on stolen intellectual property. So this is all a game. It's just, we're going to attack one of your companies if you keep limiting our abilities. That's all this is. But the end result will be it's a way to hurt a leading American company and to push back against the U.S. pressure on China. This is purely tit for tat.
So what does China hope to achieve with this?
You got to understand Chinese government politics. So they're basically in a world where if you do something to them, even though what you did to them was based upon them doing something wrong, they will attack back. That just happens every single time. So what they hope to achieve is to sort of a shot, not even across the bow, but on our bow. What they're hoping to achieve is for the U.S. to back off a little bit on some of the export controls that the Biden administration has put in place, and Trump before that put in place on some of these Chinese semiconductor companies.
Now, another point, I'm sure China wants to be self-reliant in the chips front. It's signaled that many times now. Do you think China will actually be able to achieve that?
Well, they're already self-reliant in certain kinds of chips, where, in other words, not the most leading-edge chips, but chips that maybe could go in your car or in a washing machine. There's chips that are used all over. They can make those pretty well right now. What they can't make are the leading-edge 4, 5, 6 nanometer chips, the ones that would go into a leading-edge high-performance computer or even in your Apple iPhone. It's very hard to do, but they're very determined and they're willing to plow large quantities of government subsidies into it. I don't see them getting there anytime soon, but that is their goal, and as long as they don't deviate from that goal, I think they will get there.
Okay, just one final thought. How do we know for sure? Maybe you can expand a little bit on your point that this is purely retaliation. How do we know for sure that this is it?
Well, there's two reasons to know that. One is you just look at what they've done in the past. They will go after and retaliate against specific firms. One major American firm I was talking to once, I was talking to the chief counsel, and he had said he went to complain to a minister in China about these companies stealing their intellectual property, the American company's property. And he said, if you don't stop this, we're going to bring a WTO case, World Trade Organization case. The minister said to him, you have every right to do that, but if you do that, you'll never sell another product in China. They've put executives in jail for trumped-up charges. They will bring massive fines against companies for trumped-up charges. And oftentimes these companies will be happy when they only have a $1 billion fine because it could have been worse. And these, by the way, are cases where the Europeans, the Japanese, and the Americans all looked at the exact same issue and said there was no wrongdoing. So there is a history of this sort of making things up for political reasons. That's number one. And number two, if there really were cybersecurity issues there, the U.S. government would have notified Micron, would have notified us, the Japanese government, the Europeans. There are a whole regime that measures and assesses cybersecurity in chips that all of these chip companies do, by the way, voluntarily go through to ensure that these chips are secure. None of that has happened. So that suggests to me this is one more game the Chinese government is playing for political reasons.
Thank you for the discussion today, Robert. It was great talking to you today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
AI has begun replacing jobs, but some positions in the creative industries are still safe. NTD's Sean Marshall has more.
White-collar jobs are at the highest risk of being replaced by generative AI chatbot technology. That's according to a recent study from OpenAI and the University of Pennsylvania. But a human touch is still needed in a few roles. For example, a program like Midjourney was used to create this woman's entire comic book. Although current image generation laws prevent her from copyrighting her images, but a human eye needs to check creations seeking financial backing or used for human entertainment. I asked Scott Leventon, CEO of Interphase Marketing, which jobs are still safe.
Yeah, I definitely think graphic designers and content writers and copywriters, they're safe for now, but artificial intelligence like ChatGPT definitely does have the potential to automate the copywriting industry, and other programs such as DALL-E 2 is released by OpenAI, and that can actually generate graphics. So I think graphic designers might be in trouble also.
Humans are also needed to check for misinformation created by chatbots, a problem recently popping up in journalism. Quoted, an internet resource for finding PR resources and experts for news interviews, has banned content created by chatbots because of error possibilities. Their moderators have begun using AI detection tools like GPT-0 to ensure the authenticity of text. I asked Leventon if he's had to replace any workers because of AI.
Not from my business. I've had a pretty steady stream of work that's been coming in, so I haven't had to, lay anyone off or drop any team members just yet. But, if AI does keep improving, that could be a possibility in the future.
And in Cyprus, ChatGPT has been put into a robot named AI Einstein to incorporate it into lesson plans.
Here's a joke for you. Why was the math book sad? Because it had too many problems.
At least for now, a teacher has to control it. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Planning a summer vacation? Well, don't forget to take a buddy. Southwest Airlines is bringing back its Companion Pass. It allows travelers to designate one person to fly with them for free. Now, to qualify, a member of Southwest's frequent flyer program needs to register for the promotion. Then they have to purchase a ticket by Wednesday evening for a flight before May 24th. Once that's done, a Companion Pass will be in their account on August 15th. The Buddy Pass will work on as many flights as they want between August 15th and September 30th. And when booking flights, do you worry the fare will drop right after you lock in your seat? Well, Google is testing a price guarantee program to get rid of buyer's remorse. Now, here's how it works. Go to Google Flights and type in where and when you want to travel. Find the trip that works best for you and book it. Google then monitors the price every day until departure. If the fare goes down, you get the difference back via Google Pay. The pilot program only applies to travel that departs from within the U.S., and you have to book it on Google. It was blazing guns against magic spells at the weekend box office. Who was victorious? Here are estimates for the top 5 films in theaters.
Because this is a war.
Creed 3 is closing in on $150 million in domestic box office. The boxing pick made $5 million for 5th place. His Only Son, a Bible movie from the studio behind The Chosen, made $5.3 million in its opening weekend. Scream 6 also earned $5.3 million, tying for 3rd place.
You come here thinking there is a way out of this world for you, Mr. Wick.
John Wick Chapter 4 slipped more than 60% in its sophomore weekend, but still took in $28.2 million for a 10-day total of $123 million.
On your knees.
Okay, chop it off.
Chop it off, let's do it.
Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves debuted on top, with solid reviews and an opening weekend haul of $38.5 million.
And that's it today from the NTD Business team and myself, Don Ma. You can follow me on Twitter if you're there. And if you have any news tips or feedback for the show, please email us at business@ntd.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.